all time. Jeff Beck and Hi-Ho Silver Lining. It's funny how there are some records which never, ever fail to get people dancing, even though the people who put the pint down and jump up and start dancing to them weren't even born when the records were released. I mean, that is one of them. Satisfaction by the Stones is another. Brown Sugar by the Stones is another. And Tiger Feet by Mud is another. And, of course, there's Let's Twist Again and Rock Around the Clock and all this sort of thing. And whatever else goes on, those records will always get people up on their feet. Isn't it wonderful? Welcome back to the final hour of the programme. You're probably very glad that you're here, and I'm certainly very glad that I'm here, but only for the next 50 minutes, because thereafter I shall push off home, and that's me finished for the weekend. How wonderful. A guest door slammer, whose name shall remain anonymous, so the DHSS don't find out about him. Well, that made him choke on his number 6 king size, didn't it, eh? Right. Thank you very much indeed. We shall now proceed with some more phone calls, beginning in West Didsbury, of course, with the Phantom. Yeah.
Hello?
In fact, do you know, something's just occurred to me. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, shut up now. Something's just occurred to me that, of course, the pilot at Ringway who decided to bottle his takeoff because he heard a mysterious bang on board his aeroplane, I mean, presumably it was the 1830 Club. Anyway, come on, you. What do you want?
Well, I'm thinking about that guy who was just on, Gareth Bender.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know some of his nicknames, because you was interested in him.
Yeah, Mr. Bender seemed fairly reluctant to disclose his nicknames.
Yeah, he would be.
Perhaps you can throw some light on Mr. Bender's sobriquets.
Yeah, well, one of them is Barry Bender.
Barry Bender, yes.
Which comes from Barry Bendover.
And where does he come from?
Timbuktu, I think.
Ah, right, yeah.
And another one is Jerk-Off Joe.
I'm tempted to ask you why.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, you see, one day...
Yes.
He lives near the old railway, see. He went down there on his own.
Lives near the old railway?
Yeah.
Do you mean a boozer or the actual old railway?
The actual old railway where the trains used to go.
Through Didsbury, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And he went down there on his own night with the pornographic magazine.
Ah, right, fine. Thanks very much indeed, that gentleman from West Didsbury. I'm tempted to give your phone number out. No, I shan't. Anyway, over to Hale now, an equally salubrious part of South Manchester, and Mark James.
How do, Jim?
Hello.
I have a very good idea what that thing's over Mexican Stadium.
Ah, please tell me.
I think it's Maradona doing a Mooney.
Then, I have difficulty, actually. Perhaps it's my spatial perception which is at fault here, but I can't really see how Mr. Maradona's buttocks would, unless he's of a singularly hirsute nature, would cast that kind of shadow.
Well, have you noticed all the legs? You see, the way everybody goes on about Maradona,
yeah.
You think he had that many legs?
Oh, that's what it is.
Well, it is, because all you see on the pitch, when he's actually playing,
yeah.
And you know when the sun shines and you always see, like, loads of stripes?
Yeah.
All you see is his hair and his legs. Well, that's what the team would like to think, anyway. Because they never talk about anyone else, do they? It's Maradona all the time.
Yeah, well, of course, that may be Brian Moore's fault, because he doesn't know the names of any of the other Argentinian players.
Well, that's true.
Right.
Anyway, another thing is...
Yeah.
Another thing. A couple of weeks ago, on a news item, there was something about the journalists going on strike. And the paper said, we don't need journalists anyway. Well, I know why they don't need journalists. Because they take all the stories from Woman's Own.
Oh, very amusing indeed.
They do.
Yes.
There was one, I think it was just last week, in one day, there was 3 items from Women's Own.
Quoted?
Quoted, actually quoted.
Right.
There was one about that young Boris Becker.
Yes.
And it was about, a good column, and at the end it had, from Woman's Own.
Yeah.
And then there was one about Prince Philip saying about the forthcoming wedding.
Right.
Quoted from Woman's Own.
Yeah.
And there was another one, I forget what it was anyway. And there was another 2 the other day.
Was it about Prince Philip saying that he was very worried about the world that Wills and Harry were going to grow up in?
That's right, that's it. And that was in Woman's Own as well.
Yeah.
So I thought, if you went out and bought a load of women's magazines, you could make your own tabloid newspaper.
Well, I do actually buy a lot of women's magazines, to be perfectly honest with you, Mark.
Well, they're very good, I find.
Partly for the recipes.
Yeah.
And partly because... Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Cosmopolitan's good, actually.
What?
Cosmopolitan's good.
It is, isn't it? Especially... Anyway, yeah, right, fine. Thanks very much indeed. Anything else to say?
Oh, yeah. And I
What?
think your Brian Moore sounds very much like Frank Sidebottom.
Are they both the same?
Well, a little bit, when you go, "God, blimey."
It doesn't say, "Oh, blimey, me trousers are on fire."
Hey, you know, it just sounds like that on the bus, honestly, when he's shouting to his kids. It's amazing. Amazing, it really is. Is the end.
I don't wish to know.
It does, it just sounds the same.
You're referring to Frank's... Do you actually know Frank Sidebottom?
Yeah, yeah.
He's honestly, the man's a genius.
He is. He's very upfront, and he's very funny, and he brings a nice sense of humour to the music business or whatever.
I'm so envious, I want to kill him. Would that be all right?
He's very talented.
No, don't talk to me about talented people. Trina Day in Salford.
Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to speak... before I speak to you about what I want to speak to you about, do you go to the loo during the breaks?
Do I?
Yeah.
No, love.
Oh.
No, because my... I mean, from the waist down, everything I possess is just so massive. You see what I mean?
No, it's just that it's so good records after the break normally. I didn't think you were putting them on.
Oh, that's very, very funny, isn't it? Very
Sorry.
droll.
It was about what you were saying about Jimmy Greaves, actually.
What's Trina short for?
It's short for nothing.
Trina?
It's a beautiful name.
I named this child Trina.
No, nah.
Trina.
Yes, that's correct. Beautiful name, beautiful person.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Anyway, there's nothing wrong with Jimmy Greaves. I found him as funny as you.
You can't possibly be serious.
Not at all, and it's not fair to slur him about his drink, seeing as how he stopped.
He's an old fool. I mean, honestly, he's decrepit. He looks like a cartoon about the First World War, doesn't he?
Well, he doesn't look nice, no.
No, he's ridiculous.
He's amusing.
He's also, because he blasted his brain out of existence with drink, he's puddled. But somehow, some bright spark at ITV has decided that it was worth bunging him and Ian St John on the TV together. And although they are not funny in the slightest, I mean, Auschwitz was funnier than those two are, but obviously they've been told that this is funny, and they've got to act up to it, and all the people who sit slavering round them have been told that this is funny. I mean, it must be funny, otherwise we wouldn't be paying them all this money, so you'd better laugh.
Jimmy
And that's
Greaves
what's
is
going on.
funny. Anyway, before you cut me off, because I don't think Jimmy Greaves is pathetic.
No, never mind that. Before England played Paraguay, Brian stupid baldy-head Moore said to Jimmy Greaves...
I agree with him.
What do you think, Jimmy? Right? And obviously everyone was sitting around going... I wonder what Jimmy will say. And Jimmy Greaves said, well, I think Paraguay will win. And everyone went, ah! Oh, God, Jimmy, you're so funny. What a lot of absolute biz.
Can I tell you this joke about Manchester City, please?
Well, if it's about Manchester City, it won't be funny.
It is, it's terribly funny.
Go on.
Right, Peter Swales is in Manchester, and he passes out in front of the Building Society.
It's the Alliance Building Society. The same joke was on the programme last night.
It wasn't, because I listened to all your programmes
Yes,
last
it
night
was.
when you called our Salford people.
What happened to the second, third and fourth? Listen, never mind calling Salford people,
You did,
right?
you said, I bet nobody in Salford reads the Times.
I was brought up in Salford,
Oh,
and I
what?
used to go to the Willows when they had crowds there of about 300.
Oh, that must be about, 17, 18 years ago.
Slightly more than that, actually. Anyway, never mind. Trina Day from Salford, get off, because you weren't in the least bit entertaining. Dennis Hargreaves in Sale, what have you got to say for yourself?
Not a lot.
Right. Is that it?
Yes.
Cheers
well,
now, Dennis.
hang
Thanks
on.
for coming
Are
on
you
the...
still there? Well, you talked about the shadow on the pitch before.
Yes.
And I thought you, being an aficionado of the Reds, would have realised that...
some mistake, surely.
Well, you can't take a joke. That all these Latin sides want England to lose, and what they're doing is they're showing an X-ray of Robbo's shoulder on the pitch.
Very funny. With an epidioscope.
I'm sure they are, because I mean that's the only way to frighten England, surely, isn't it?
What, to remind them that the whole team's in danger of falling apart?
Well, Robbo's in danger of falling apart.
I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with the role that Manchester United have played in more or less destroying the British team's chances of of European teams' chances of winning the cup.
Don't forget the Danes.
I was going to say, I mean, it was a beautifully flighted cross from Jesper Olsen, which led to the Spanish equaliser. Brian Robson came to bits on the pitch twice, and very nearly destroyed England's chances. It seems, actually, that their fortunes have picked up considerably since Robson was sidelined. And what part did United players have in the downfall of the Scots? They must have had something. Come on.
Well, I don't know. I think Gordon Strachan seemed to play quite well, but he can't seem to do it when he's at Old Trafford. And Jesper, last night, from what I saw, that at half-time he went off, it scored one and made one. So,
it scored at both ends, I think. In fact, the headline in today's Guardian was Olsen opens the floodgates. So I can only hope that he reproduces this form at Old Trafford next season on many, many occasions.
Well, I hope so, but...
you know, when they win the league again.
Yeah. It's nice to see Ron out there, because the nicest comment I saw was that neither of these teams want to lose. Which was... it's very good for Ron, that, wasn't it?
There was I'll tell you... In the... Was it... No, it was the 1978 World Cup. It was... You know... Was that one done on a league basis or a knockout basis? I can't remember.
What, the World Cups?
Yeah.
Well, they always start off with the league basis, don't they?
Yeah, but some of them go on to... There was a sort of a fad for having them on a league basis thereafter. But anyway, whatever it was something like... there were two teams playing, and it was one of these things where the result of their match didn't just affect their placings, it affected somebody else's placings. You know what it is? And Brian Moore said something like, he said, well, actually, both of these teams need to win tonight. It's a bit of a tricky situation. Well, that's the whole point of a bloody football match, is that both the teams need to win.
No, they're all full of it, though, aren't they? It's a game of two halves. And,
I know.
And we hope we get the result.
I know.
You know, if it's 3-0 against us, we've got a result, haven't we?
I can still remember some of the gems from the... I didn't actually pay a lot of attention to the 82 World Cup, but I can remember the 78 World Cup, and some of the... I mean, I remember at the start of the second half of the final, I think... I can't remember who the commentator was. Anyway, he came on and he said, well, here we are. He said, Holland 1 up, Argentina 1 down.
And if it stays like this, Holland are going through.
I know. He said, well, I said the match wasn't over, and it wasn't. But that's right, it was Brian Moore, the pudding, and he said, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just had to roll on the floor. He said, and now, I think it was, Holland scored first, and then Argentina equalised, didn't they? And he said, well, that's it, the scores are level now, and this is a cup final in every sense of the word.
I'll tell you something, he keeps saying, calling Brian Moore, but if John Motson's commentating on the game, I turn the sound down, and I'd love to know how many other people do that.
Well, I sincerely hope that they put the James H. Reeve programme on the radio at the same time.
Well, come on, they always listen to that and then turn over for the final score, don't they?
Absolutely, I should think so. No, you're getting a bit what?
You might be able to make something out of that. Just find how many people that listen to Piccadilly turn John Motson off. Because he's I don't know, he's the only person that can turn round and say to you, the score's 1-1 now, and if it stays like this, it's going to be a draw.
Oh, no, don't worry. No, there are plenty of other people prepared to say that. It's just that he gets paid more than most for it. Right, I'm sorry, you're getting a bit self-indulgent, Dennis, now. Off you go. Oh, God. Roy Acorn.
Oh, do, Jim?
Yes.
A bit busy today, isn't it?
What?
Bit busy over there today,
A little bit chocker, yes.
Yeah, I didn't say chill, I said a bit busy.
Busy?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Well, I've rang up about 4 times today. It's been engaged every time.
That's the way it is, you see.
And today I actually have to try to ring in. I have to attempt, you see. And today it actually worked eventually, about 12:15.
Yes, OK. This is all very interesting, but come on.
Right, here it is. I actually know what that thing is that dangles down in the Azteca Stadium.
Good.
It's a Russian magnet, you see.
What?
And there's a magnet inside the ball, right?
Yeah.
And what the Russians do, they control the magnet, so when a Russian kicks a ball, it goes in the net, you see, they magnetise it to the opposition's goal, and that is how they won 6-0 against Hungary.
Yeah, it didn't work. Go on, you're going to talk about Belgium now, aren't you?
Yes. But on the day of Belgium, you see, the sun was that hot, it melted, and it didn't work, and that's what happens, you see. They lost, didn't they?
Yeah.
It gradually faded away, and that is why they lost. You got to admit, isn't it very true, that?
No, it's not true at all, Roy. Thanks very much for coming on the programme. Frank Connolly in Timperley. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
It's actually Armandis Mendoza.
I'm sorry?
Armandis Mendoza.
Ah, right. But